I will make the slides available after this. I will make the recording available after this. So if you need to go back and look for any material, it will all be available for you. First, my name is Keith Turgeon. I am the current league president for Townsend Ashby Youth Baseball and Softball. I am also the lead director for the adult softball. You will see me at virtually every game. I'm there to help keep everything running, as well as answer rule questions and make sure everything just kind of goes pretty smoothly. This is our third year running the program. It's been a lot of fun, and this is the first year we've really expanded. So we actually have 5 games now. We actually have 141 players this year. Last year we had 110, so we added 2 teams. This year we have 61 new players, so that's a lot of new bodies on the field. So it should be. I'm looking forward to having a great year. So let's get started. So I'm going to go start from the materials. Can somebody just give me a thumbs up and say that they can see the slide deck? Good, thank you. All right, so the first thing I want to go through is just what is the goal of this league? So this is a league that's designed for ages, genders, skill sets, doesn't matter. Everybody's supposed to be able to play in this league. We have people that are 18, we have people that are 70 in this league. So it's really open for everybody. We have people that have never played organized baseball or softball. We have people that have played college level ball. So we really want to have everybody be able to play this game. And the rules are designed for that. I do want to stress that this league is not a high-end competition league. It is really designed for fun. So while there is competition, don't think that that's not the case. It really is designed so that people can go out week after week and just have a good time and really enjoy what they're doing. So a couple of quick ones on this one. The win-loss records during the seasons do not impact the end of the season tournament. And some people missed this last year, but it is something to be aware of. That doesn't matter what the records end up at the end of the season. That is not going to set your seeding for the playoffs. Or it's not actually playoffs, it's an end of season tournament. We do this so that we don't have games, people out there every week, I gotta win, and putting up points on the board and taking the fun out of the game. And it also allows us to have people from one team sub in another team and just let the games happen. People, hey, we're short on this team, 3 people from another team will jump in and be able to play the game and have some fun. The last real goal of the league is really to raise some money for our youth programs. So this program was designed so that we can add more money and funds into helping our youth program get better and keeping their programs affordable. All right, the first thing I'm going to need from everybody, I've sent out a couple of emails on this, but I want to reiterate this. I need every team has been designated a color, and we need to get a name for those teams. So some of the returning teams have already sent me over their information, and that's great. And I don't expect some of the teams that have a lot of newer players to get me their stuff until Saturday. So while you're at your games this Saturday, talk to your teammates, determine who's going to be your player captain, and also determine what your name of your team is going to be. The team names have to be appropriate, but they can be suggestively inappropriate. So as you look at the different team names, you'll understand what that means. So we just want you to remember that there are kids here. It's not just a field with nothing but adults. There are kids all over the place. So we don't want them to see stuff and go, oh, look at what I'm saying that they really shouldn't be saying. So just keep that in mind as you come up with your names. Once you do designate a player captain, they'll have special permissions on the TABE site so that they can go in and schedule practices and book fields. Practices are 100% optional. You don't have to join the meeting. You don't have to have practices, but if you do decide to have them, they are available for you and the fields are there. Attendance. So this I really want to stress. So while we're very flexible here, we put 14 players on every team purposely so that if people can't make it, we have capacity to handle that. I really want everyone to try to have a goal to make 5 of your 8 games. I think if you can plan for at least 5 of them, that's what we really want. We don't really want to have somebody that signed up and, well, I know I can make 1 game. And that just hurts your team. But if you can at least try to get into 5 of the 8, that would be great. If you can't, you come close, you get 4, you get injured, sure, those types of things happen, we get it. The big thing that I really want to stress here is 48 hours on Thursday, which means today, you're going to get an email that looks just like this. And it's an event reminder. And when you get it, it has 2 links here. One that says, yes, I can make my game. or no, I cannot make it, it is extremely important that you click one of these two links. If you didn't get this email today, everybody got this email today. If you didn't get it, look in your spam box and mark it as not spam, so you get it next week. Okay, so be very cautious, because if you don't fill this out, that means I'm going to start chasing people on Friday to see if each team has enough players.
That one.
If I see that you check this off, I don't have to go harass people, and it makes my life easier, and that's what we all want. So I would appreciate it, so thank you. So that's what I want to check on this one. And when you do hit the link on this, it will also email your team captain and let them know if you can or cannot make it. So on the note of practices, as I mentioned, practices are optional. You're encouraged to have them. The player captain can make them. If you do decide to use fields, you have to book it. You can't just show up at a field and use the field. That way we don't have conflicts. Try to leave the field in better condition than you got it. Make sure you clean up when you're done, and don't use the Game Saver or Quick Drive for practices. These bags right now are about $28 a piece. So please, for a practice, just move away from any of the wet spots if you have to, and you use the other parts of the field. We're just trying to keep the cost down, because those things got extremely expensive with everything else that got expensive this year. So thank you on that. Batting cage. Over at Craven Field, we do have a batting cage. It does have a baseball pitching machine in it, but you can use it for throwing softballs in there. You're welcome to use it anytime. You don't have to book it. The only thing we ask is that if you go there and there's a youth game or practice going on, try not to use the batting cage. We want to let them have first priority over it. If you do decide to use it, bring an extension cord with you to plug it in. If not, there might be one in the right shed. More often than not, these get stolen. So you go to use it and it's probably not going to be there. So bring one with you and take it with you when you leave. Cover the pitching machine when you're done, and just make sure you close the gate when you leave. Snack Shack requirement. So this is new for this year. So this year we added an additional game. Now that we have 10 teams, that means we have games going from basically 10 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. And in previous seasons, it was myself and my family that would be in the Snack Shack. And while we're still going to be in the Snack Shack, probably 80% of the time, we're going to ask you guys to help fill in the blanks so that we're not in there all the time. So I sent out a link. Everybody has to try to do one hour shift per season. Don't need more than that. And more than likely, you won't even have to do that shift. But we do want to have somebody available for all those things. A question that came in previously is, do you get paid for working that 1 hour shift? That is a no. This is a volunteer program. We are running everything here completely volunteer. So when we need this is what's keeping your league fee at $40. If we don't have people do this, next year we're going to have to increase the cost. So this will help keep those costs low. $40 is already an extremely low price for an entire season of ball. So we charge our kids more than double that for their seasons. So you guys get a pretty good deal on it. All right.
Keith, on that card,
Yep.
can we verify that the facilities floater is not the only person to be taking care of the field? The game that just ended needs to clean the field?
Yes, I will go through that one as well. Yeah. So that is the person that's kind of running between it. But yes, every person after your game will be required to help clean up the field after your game. But I'll go through that in a little bit more detail a little bit further down. Game cancellations. So games will be played in the rain. They will be played when it's brutally hot. They will be played when it's freezing cold. So just dress appropriately. Some of the best games that we've had have been in the rain. So make sure you bought cleats, because if not, you'd be slipping and sliding. It's a lot of fun, but you don't want to get yourself killed. So unless there's a major event, and we will not cancel a game more than 2 hours before it's scheduled. So if you have a game at 5 o'clock, you won't hear from me until 3 o'clock if we're going to cancel that game. So plan to be at your game. And usually the only time you'll see me canceling it is if it's extremely heavy rain, lightning, or some sort of, hurricane type event, but more often than not, we will have the game. Over the past 2 years, I don't think I canceled one game. So we've got a pretty good record for getting our games in. If on the website, if you put in your cell phone number and your cell phone carrier, if I do have to cancel a game, you will get a text message saying that the game has been canceled or any update to it. So I do encourage people to make sure you put in your carrier. It will save you a little bit of headache trying to figure out and looking for emails. Field cleanup. So this I really wanted to stress. So at the end of every single practice or game you have, the field has to be cleaned. We have 10 to 15 minutes between games, and the one person who's assigned for floater to clean the fields, which is usually me, cannot do it by myself. So when you finish your game, there will be rakes and drags sitting right next to the dugouts. Grab a rake, go out, hit the field. We need to make sure we rake all the way to the grass line. We need to redo the chalk lines. When you do rake the base paths, make sure you go up and down the path, not side to side. That avoids the big lips that have been on this between the base paths in the grass. Other thing, we want to make sure that your dugout's clean between games, and including emptying the trash barrels. If you have the trash barrels are in each of the dugouts, they need to be taken from the dugout to the dumpster. So last year, at the end of each game, there ended up being a trash can filled to the rim with beer cans. I prefer not to have to get covered in that, going to dump it in the dumpster myself. So please make sure at the end of every game, you go dump it into the dumpster, please. And then we'll be good to go there. And generally look around. If you see trash, help pick up. So just do your part. It's really, really appreciated. So we made a few pitching changes this year. So one of the biggest one is we changed the pitching distance from 50 feet to 46 feet. So we're going to continue to stick with the 70-foot base paths, but we are shrinking the pitching distance. Even though we're shrinking the pitching distance, we're also going to be more stressing that you need to make sure you stay on the pitching rubber. And then you can, as long as you start at the pitching rubber, a pitcher is good. You can't start 5-10 feet in front of the rubber anymore. We had a couple people do this last year, and it ended up being placed. It was a safety issue, so we don't want to have that again. And it also resulted in batters freaking out because they were afraid they were going to hit the person that was way too close. So a pitcher has to start on the rubber this year. If you don't, I'll call you on it and make you go back. Okay. And then we want to really, we've had this rule for the past couple of years. This is slow pitch softball. You have to try to pitch within a 6 to 12 foot slow pitch arc. If your pitcher cannot do that consistently, get them out of there. You want to get pitchers that can keep the game moving. And then the other part of pitching isn't a method to win these games. So the only job of a pitcher is to give the batter something they can hit. The only way to win a game is to field. So there's nothing like that. We want to make sure that you're just giving them things that they can hit. So we don't want no spin, no backspin, just a typical soft pitch, arc pitch. Okay. I didn't put it on here, but the other thing that we did add, it's actually a hitting change this year, is there is a new rule now. It's three swing and misses and you're out. So previously it was swing until you hit. And 99% of people never got to the point where there'd be 3 strikes and you're out. But we did add it this year just to try to keep some of the edge cases from happening again. So I don't expect it to be used very often, but we do want to have some gutter there to keep the games moving. So that's the update on that one. Oh, and additionally on that, fouls do not count. So you could foul all day long. It's 3 swing and misses. So that's the only way you're going to strike out. So the end of season tournament. So as I mentioned earlier, this is not determined by your season record. This year we are switching to a 2-day tournament. It's going to be October 23rd and 24th. The game's on September. So the way we're going to do seeding is on September 25th. What we're going to do is we're going to keep track of how many hits every team has. And the number of hits you have compared to the other teams is how we're going to seed it. It's a very simple, it's not wins, it's not losses, it's not going to try to kill people. It's just something so that we can put some seeding in, and I'm not just picking names out of a hat. So it puts a little bit more emphasis on that week's game. So it will be most hits. We are going to ignore errors. So if you reach on error, I'm still going to give you the hit for it. So don't worry. I don't want to have it to be 2 hits versus 3 hits, whatever it is to get on base, which is, there's a lot of errors in this league. So we're just going to count them as hits. So that will work. We go most hits, head to head, least hits against, and then at last a coin flip. That's how we'll determine seeding. We also changed these tournament games to be full 7-inning games, but they do have a strict time limit, and the score will roll back if you hit that time limit. So we extended, last year we had only 5-inning games. Now we'll have full 7-inning games. Like last year, you have to have 8 rostered players to play. And we did change this year that those 8 rostered players have to have played at a minimum of 3 games to be eligible to play in the playoffs. So we don't want you to bring in the ringer on week 8 and say, well, here's their $40 they're playing, they're on our roster. And this guy that's been just left the gym came on the field and just takes over the game. So we want to avoid that. So that's our tournament. This is what it looks like. So I will send out all these slides so you have all this. So the schedule is already done. Where all the seating is going to be done is all ready to roll. We just need to put in team names on those. Quick update on safety. So each team is going to have a medical kit hanging in your dugout, loaded with ice packs and some Band-Aids. We have single-use Tylenol and Advil available for purchase at the Snack Shack. We're no longer going to put big bottles in the med kits. There was some concern about just leaving that much medicine hanging out on a dugout, so we're going to take it away. And instead, if you need a Tylenol or Advil, you can just go to the Snack Shack. It'll be $1 for a single-use pack. So the Snack Shack this year also has a completely fully loaded new medical kit. It's got all sorts of stuff in it if anything happens at the field. We also have an AED device at the field in case of emergencies. And if you have any questions on safety, medical devices, the kits, anything, Jess Fellows is our safety officer. She can answer any of your questions on that. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually walk through the rules. So that was kind of going through what we've done in the past, some highlights. Now I'm going to just give me a second here. All right, if somebody can give me a thumbs up that they can see the rules. Excellent, thank you. All right, so I'm going to go over the rules. Please stop me if you have questions. I'm going to highlight the things that are different or the things that I think need emphasis. Okay. This year we upped it. The teams now have 10 teams, and each team has 14 players. Last year we had different numbers on each team. This year there is 14 hard on every team. As I mentioned earlier, we went to a 46-foot pitching distance. Slow pitch, 3 swings and misses, and you're out. Through. So one thing I want to note here is number 14. Games are 95 minutes long, and they're scheduled in 105-minute blocks. That means it's 10 minutes between games, assuming they go all the way to the end. The start times adjust every week. So last year we had people that didn't realize that the start times of games changed. So a game that started at 10 this week will start at like 9:45 the next week. And that's because we try to adjust for for it getting dark at night, because our last game has to keep going backwards. And instead of having you guys come out at 8, 9 in the morning every week, we'll slowly get back to that as the season goes along. All right. As I mentioned, we have a 2-day single elimination tournament. We added this year, if you no-show for 4 games in a row. Cindy, you got a question? Cindy?
Yeah, the start times. Does that mean that the schedule that we have is not the right times?
No, the schedule that's posted is correct. So
Okay,
what you have there is correct. What I mean by is like, just because a game, like the third game, each week, that slot is going to be moved back. So like there's some teams that have almost all their games tend to be at like the second slot. And to make sure that people don't say, oh, my games are always at 2 o'clock. That's why if people look at the schedule, you can see what time your game actually starts.
okay,
It was last year we had a bunch of people that didn't realize that changed and didn't look at the changes on the times.
okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
No problem. All right, where was I? So I was saying with the no show for 4 games in a row, it's going to consider you withdrawn from the season. We had a handful of people last year that just never showed up, and I ended up holding their spots all year. If you don't show up for 4 of them, I'm going to basically cut you, and then we'll find new people that might want to fit your spot. We got lots of people that want to play, so we'll do that. And the last thing I want to note here on this one is the league will have a team picture taken of each team on week 5, which is October 2nd. As the past couple of years, Eric Fellows has offered to do this again, and we really, really appreciate it, Eric. Thank you. All it is just one quick team picture before or after your game. So if you want to be in that picture, make sure you are there on week 5, and Eric will get that picture taken, and then we'll edit them up and we'll send them all out to everybody. So. Moving down, player conduct. So I really want to make sure people understand this is not a super competitive league. It's designed to have fun. So I don't want to see people out pressing people on rules, getting angry, getting yelling. It's not fun for anybody. Don't do it. So this is a youth sports league, and they will be there watching you as the adults. So be a good example for the kids that are there, please. There is no use of tobacco products anywhere on the grounds. That includes smoking, chewing tobacco, vaping, nowhere. Not in the parking lot, not on the field, not in the woods, not in your car, nowhere. Okay. If you need to do any of those things, get in your car and leave, and then come back later. Okay. So real strict about this. Okay. All food and any drinks need to remain outside the fenced-in playing area. And then at the conclusion of every game, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this particular one or change this. I think this is actually going to get changed to lining up along the foul lines and just tipping your cap like we did last year. Based on how things with COVID are going, I will probably change this rule to that direction instead of shaking hands. Hopefully next year we can go back to that, but with things kind of going the wrong direction, I'm going to change this rule so we're not out there, shaking hands at this point in time. As I mentioned, everybody needs to help clean up the field at the end of it, clean the trash, and there's no arguing of rules. I'm there at virtually every game. If you have a question on the rules, ask me. I'm not going to change a play. What I'll do is I'll let you know what the rule's supposed to be, and that way you know what it is for the next time. We're here to have fun. I'm not going to go back and start changing plays and saying this should have been. It's not going to happen. So I'll tell you how it should be and deal with it for the next time. Okay. Rosters and scheduling. As I mentioned, 48 hours, you're going to get that email. The team captain is going to be responsible for doing the weekly team lineup. If you can't field 8 players for the start of the game, you can add substitute players. The preferences first are to a rostered player from another team, then a non-rostered 18+ adult, and finally, if there are no other options, you can let an under 18 play. Okay. Any substitutes have to sign a waiver. So just the same waiver that you signed when you registered that basically says, you're on your own. So if anything happens, don't call us. So if you have less than 10 players, you can add substitute players to get up to 10. And if a team ends up with 9, if you end up with 9 and there's no substitutes, you can borrow a right fielder. So, hey, we've only got 9. One team can just put a right fielder out there for you. They wouldn't bat, they'll just be out there. That way you have 10 players. If after the start of play, a roster player arrives, they join at the start of the next half inning. They don't come out in the middle of the field during an inning. And then just the substitute player that they were in for would get removed. Let's see. Any substitute players need to check in with me before they step on the field. I'm going to make sure that they sign the waiver, and I'm going to make sure that they have a rough understanding of the rules before they step on the field. If you need to use non-roster substitute players, that you can only use them for 3 times before they actually have to roster. So, and actually pay the fee to join the league like everybody else. If you're going to be in there for half the season, you should be paying the fee and joining the league just like everybody else. Due to the size of the league, we can't play every team every year. So we have 10 teams and we only have 8 weeks. So there'll be 2 teams you don't play each year. The entire schedule was randomized. So what teams you play this year was completely done on random. So don't ask me why didn't I play this team, or I got these teams or that teams. I put it into a tool called League Lobster, and it spit out the schedule. Games cannot be rescheduled. So all of our games are on Saturdays, regardless of anything. If your team can't play one week and you have no players, I will find 9 players to play in that game for you. So just know that we're not going to move games around. We're not going to have a game on a Sunday or on a weeknight. The games are on Saturday, your scheduled time, you get it in. If not, we'll find a way to get that game in. That way the other team doesn't have someone to play.
Hey, Keith, I got a question about that rule.
Shoot.
If a team wants to trade the time slot that they're in, say they're at the early game, but they can't get enough players until the late spot, if there's an agreement on all 4 teams, is that allowed or no?
Here's what I would say. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it, but if only person you're talking to is one team captain talks to another team captain and says, yeah, I don't have a big deal about that. Chances are that team captain didn't went and got all 14 players on his team to say, yeah, that's okay. Because I want to be cautious. I don't want to have somebody on that other team that was scheduled be the one person that says, what do you mean my game got moved? So a lot of people worked hard to make these schedules work. So I'm really not, unless 28 people say, yeah, I'm okay with moving it. I don't really want to see 28, 46 players. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So when there's a game immediately scheduled after, which is the first 4 games, the game limit is a hard cutoff. The last game can continue until its natural end. As far as equipment goes, you need to bring your own fielder's glove. Cleats are strongly recommended to be used. No metal cleats. If you don't have cleats, you can go to Play It Again Sports. You can go to Unique Boutique here in Townsend. You can get them for a couple of dollars. They will save you. They will save your knees. They will save your ankles. And I really, really recommend cleats. Athletic supporters, cups, fielder's masks, batting gloves, helmets are not required. You're welcome to use them, but you don't have to use them. The league is going to provide all the bats for playing. You cannot bring your own bat to use during a game. This keeps everything even across the board, and the bats that we bought specifically for the league are designed so you're not, hitting every ball out of the park. Okay. The same with balls. The league is going to provide 12 and 11-inch balls for every game. These balls are what they call dead balls. When you hit them, they don't go a country mile like maybe a baseball would, or even a ASA fast speed softball would go. So don't even bring personal baseball or softballs to these games, because they end up getting mixed in to our balls. And then all of a sudden, like, somebody will get up to bat, hit the ball, the thing will go over the trees. And I'm like, how on earth did that happen? We'll find the ball, and it was somebody's ball that they brought from home that said fast pitch softball on it, which is much harder, and they go way further. So leave your bats and your balls at home, and we have all that for you. And if there is a home run, please make best effort to retrieve them, jump the fence, grab them, throw them back in. They are expensive, so we're trying to keep our costs pretty reasonable on the balls. I think they're up to like $5-6 a ball right now. So we prefer to, if you see a ball get hit out of bounds, make sure that someone runs out and grabs it. Players are allowed to wear shorts. If you're going to wear shorts, I don't recommend you just slide. I'm not going to tell you you can't, that you're on your own, but you are allowed to wear them if you'd like. As far as officials, so there are no umpires at any of the regular season games. So each team is going to put a base coach on first and third base. They are going to act as the umpires for the game. The first base coach is going to make the calls at first base and home. The third base coach is going to make calls at second and third base. The catcher is who's going to make the determination if a ball is foul or fair that gets hit. Okay. Please make sure you put your base coaches out, and don't forget to do this as the season goes on. You will tend to see me yell into the field, hey, get your base coaches out there. Because it's something tends to be forgotten. And just do your best to stay neutral as you make those calls. And we prefer not to have to hire real umpires for all the regular season games. That would instantly require us to increase the fee from $40 to probably $100. So we don't want to do that. So let's see if we can stick with that. We've had a pretty good job with it the past couple of years. We'd like to keep it that way. All right, talking about offense. As I mentioned earlier, new this year, a player who swings and misses 3 times in an at-bat will be called out. The third base coach should keep track of that and let people know when it happens. Again, a foul ball is not considered a strike. We do have a 5-run limit per inning. So once that 5th run crosses the plate, the half inning is over. The current play can finish to its natural end, but if any additional runs score, they won't count. So 5 runs is the max per inning. Let's see. The declared last inning or any extra innings has unlimited runs for both teams. So no matter whatever the last inning is, you can keep pile of points on at that point in time. At the end of any inning, if a team is winning by 15 runs or more, the score is going to get frozen. The game's not over, the score is just going to get frozen. The game then continues to, you play the game to its end, just the score is not going to change. So we want people to have fun and enjoy the game. And, if the game gets to a point where it gets mercy, the scoreboard is going to get frozen. Just have fun at that point. Try different things and just have a good time. The batting order has to remain constant throughout the entire game. You can't do substitutes or anything like that. If a player arrives late, they got to be put at the bottom of the lineup. So they can't be re-put into, the cleanup slot or anything like that if they're late. All players it's a continuous batting lineup. Every player has to be in the batting lineup, and every player has to play at least 2 innings in the field. And so if a batter another thing is a batter has an injury that it limits their ability to run, you can use pinch runners. However, they have to make it to first base on their own. And then once they get to first base and the play is over, the pinch runner can take over for them. The pinch runner is the person who made the last out of the same gender. Okay. So we don't allow bunting on purpose. So obviously these things at this level, a lot of different talent levels. So some people swing, turn into bunts. That's fine. So as long as we're not out there deliberately trying to bunt the ball. As for foul tips, if a foul tip happens, the ball has to travel clearly over the catcher's head, and then the catcher catches it for it to be an out. If it's so close that you can't tell if it went over their head or if there's contention, it's not an out. You need to really see that ball go up and then come down. That way, for it to be an out. Our home run rule, a single team is limited to 4 over the fence home runs per game and is limited to a single over the fence home run per inning. Any over the fence home runs after the first one in each inning or after 4 in total are an out. So the goal is to put the ball in play. So this allows us to have some of the big power hitters on some teams not completely dominate and just home run, home run, home run, home run. We're playing at Craven Field. It's 200-foot fence. If we didn't have this rule, it would be a home run derby, which is not what we're looking to do here. So that's why we have this rule. So figure out how to put the ball in play, find the gaps, and save your home runs if you need them. So if a home run is called an out, it's not counted against your home run limit. So if you've already hit your one that inning, you're not going to get the other one's an out. It's not part of the limit. So we added this last year. If the batter hits an out of the park home run, they do not need to run the bases. You can, but you don't have to. We've had a handful of people that hit home runs, turn to go run to first base, and tore their Achilles. We don't need to have that happen. We're not the MLB. We don't need to go run around the bases. If you want to, go for it, but you don't have to. A lot of us are old. I don't want to run. I got one baseline in me, so that's as far as I'm going. Let's see. So on the last inning or any extra innings, if you haven't used all 4 of your home runs, you can use any of them in that last inning. So some teams will choose to hold all of their home runs until the last inning. That way, if they need them there, they can use them. So this is part of the strategy your team needs to figure out how you want to use your home runs. If a ball strikes an object outside the fence within fair territory and bounces back onto the field, typically a tree, that's still a home run. Okay. If it hits inside the field and bounces out after it hits the ground, that's a ground rule double. Okay. We did have some questions on that last year. There's no leading, there's no stealing, and a runner cannot leave the base until the batter has made contact with the ball. So some of you who are in the youth league, after the ball crosses the plate, here it's after contact with the ball. Okay. You can slide. However, you need to make good effort to avoid the defensive player. If it's intentional or not, if the base runner interferes with the fielder making a play, they should get called out. Okay, we don't want to get anybody hurt. So priority 1 is safety. So keep that in mind. Catchers, we need you to stay at least 6 feet behind the players that are batting. You don't have to be in a catcher's position. You're not wearing catcher's gear, so stay 6 feet back. Some of those foul tip balls can come back pretty hard, pretty quickly. So you want to be aware of that. So don't just put someone behind catching that doesn't have that spatial awareness. It's important that they can realize that that ball is going to come flying back at them. New this year, to avoid the collisions at first base, we're going to have a safety base installed at first base. It's actually a double base. So half of it's a regular standard white base. The other half of it's a bright orange base. When you're running, you run to the orange safety base, and then the fielder is going to play to the white base. Okay, so it's all one. That way we can avoid contact. Okay. It's the same thing at home plate, except that the 2 bases are not going to be attached. So the way at home plate, there will be a orange safety plate. It will be about 4 or 5 feet away from home plate on an angle. So the foul line will actually come down and curve to the safety base. So if you just follow the foul line, it will go to the safety base. If you run to the white home plate and you make contact with the catcher, you're going to be called out, even if the catcher doesn't have the ball. So we cannot have somebody coming full steam from third base into a catcher that has no catcher's gear on. They're going to get killed and they're going to get hurt. We don't want that. So use the safety base. Make sure you don't run to the home base. So the other thing to note on this,
Or we can run the internet wire.
make sure you mute your phone when you come on. So this piece here, if a catcher has the ball and so I want to read, if the catcher has the ball and touches the white home plate before the runner touches the orange safety plate, the runner is out. No tag is required, even if there's no forced play. However, if there's not a force and they're running and they haven't yet touched the orange safety base, they can turn around and go back, even if the catcher is on the white home plate. That's effectively how we're doing the tag. So as long as they're there, so if there's not a force, they can turn around and go back the other way. If there's a force, as long as they touch the white base before you touch the orange base, you're out. Okay. It's a little weird, it's a little confusing, but you'll get it pretty quickly. For defense, so teams, ideally you're going to play with 10 fielders on defense. You can have 4 outfielders, 4 infielders, a pitcher and a catcher. So That way the field has a lot of coverage. We're not doing, have to do too much crazy running in the field to cover the whole field. So we do have a rule that you have to have 2 females on the field at all times. So we don't want people to just put some of the girls on the bench and never let them play. This forces you to at least have 2 girls in the field at all times. I'm actually considering changing this to 3 for next year. So something to keep in mind. But if you cannot put 2 girls in the field, you're going to get penalized. So the next inning, your next at bat, you'll only have 2 outs. So keep that in mind. So you make sure it's even for everybody. So we want everybody to have good opportunities to play. So we don't allow, so this adjusted for this year. So outfielders, we want the batters to be able to try to have a chance to get on base. So if a batter comes up that you know is not going to hit that ball out of the infield, outfielders cannot just come into the infield and basically double up the infield. You need to stay at least 5 feet in the outfield grass until after the contact has been made. So give some of these people that are not as skilled a chance to get to the base. So that's why we're trying to do that. The infield fly rule is in effect. I'm not going to read through this, but you'll get a chance if you want to there. This is typically not going to be called, but it is of there. More often than not, it'd be called in a tournament game. Free substitution is allowed in between the innings, but you can't change defensive positions during an inning. So except when you're switching a pitcher. So say a certain batter gets up, you want to shift all your players around. You know where they're going to hit, put your best players there. It's not allowed. Wherever they start that inning, that's where they're going to play, unless you're changing your pitcher. If you're changing your pitcher, that pitcher can be moved around to make that accommodation happen. Okay. When any of the female batters step up, so we have 2 different balls. We have a 12-inch ball, we have an 11-inch ball. The female players have the option of hitting a 12-inch ball or an 11-inch ball. The guys only can hit the 12-inch ball. Girls don't want to hit the 11, they want to hit the 12. That's perfectly fine. It's their choice. So this is an option to try to even it up. Let's see. We already talked about good efforts with regard to pitching, so I'm not going to repeat that. As I mentioned before, pitchers got to start with their foot touching the pitching rubber. And that's for our regular season. Now to talk a little bit about the end of season tournament. Again, as I mentioned before, with the number of teams, we're going to go by the number of hits on the week 4 games. We are going to do the full 7-inning game, full 7 innings. And you must play in 3 regular season games. So on the tournament games, if during the last inning of play, the game ends in a tie, it has to continue past the time limit. And for a team to be eligible to play, they're required to have 8 rostered players by the scheduled start of the game. If a tournament game is forfeited, we're still going to play that game. We're just going to eliminate all of the playoff rules and just have the game as a standard game, just for people to be able to have that experience and not miss out on the opportunity to play a game. If you have 8 or 9 players in your tournament game, you can add substitute players to get to your 10, and they would fill in at right center and right field only, and these substitute players will not be eligible to bat. So only your rostered players will be able to bat in your game. Before that first pitch of the tournament, the lineup for both teams, including player names and numbers, need to be provided to the league director. Make sure you do this before these games start, and then keep me up to date on things that change. And lastly, officially patched umpires will be used for all the tournament games. The umpires will have the absolute final say with regards to all the calls and have the authority to eject players for bad sportsmanship. They don't need to provide warnings. If you're acting like a jerk, they're going to throw you out. So it's a playoff game. I get emotions are going to be high. Have fun with it. Enjoy the game. Don't let it get excessive, because we will not stand for it. That's the end of the rules. Any questions on the rules? Perfect. So I'm going to go back to here. All right, somebody can give me a thumbs up that they can see the rules walkthrough screen. Excellent, thank you. All right, the last thing that we're going to do here is just do some quick league updates. These are our current board of directors. These are the people that are helping put everything together for you. We are looking for more people to join the board of directors. If you're interested, we need some help, please reach out to me. That would be great. Just wanted to note, these are our numbers for the past couple of years. One of the things to note here is each year of our adult softball, we had 101 players the first year. We went to 114. This year we have 141. So we're really moving this program forward, which I love to see, which is great. Just to give you an idea, this year our league has spent almost $32,000 in improvements. We built all sorts of new things. We got a new dugouts at Allen Field. We did all sorts of work on the field over there. At Craven Field, we have permanent foul lines installed over there now. We redid all the fence cap, so no one's gonna get hurt on that broken stuff anymore. We put a brand new scoreboard in this past week. Spalding Field now has an AED device we purchased, so we're putting a lot of money into the programs. These are our sponsors. This is how we're able to actually get this stuff done. So thank you to all of our sponsors that make this league possible. This is why we're able to only charge $40 for programs like this. So if you want to support these guys, please do so. I like to show everybody this. So what we do in our snack shack, if there's any uniformed military public safety personnel that attend a game, they get a free meal on the league. We give them a hot dog, we give them a drink and chips. This is our way of saying thank you to the people that help keep us safe. So anybody that comes in uniform, we take care of them. So we appreciate anybody who's not there, not in uniform, but in order to keep track of it, that's the best we can. That's what we do. So thank you for everybody who's in that supporting role. If you want to, go ahead. Okay. We have lots of TA merchandise for sale. It's available on our website. There'll actually be stuff available at the games. There'll be a rack there with all sorts of stuff if you want to buy any TA branded gear. We love it when people come out showing the team the colors in black and gold for the team. We're on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got a YouTube channel with all of our meetings, and like the video for this recording will go up on there, so you can go up there and watch this again later if you didn't get bored enough on this one around. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you everybody for joining. I think it's going to be a great year this year. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to stick around on the call if anybody has questions and you want to ask me any further things. But other than that, thank you. I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday, and let's play ball. Again, I'll be out here. I'll just stick around if anybody has questions.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you, Keith.
Yep.
Quick question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
In your email today, it says to sign up for the sports app. What's the official name of the sports app? Because I'm not seeing a Apple icon to cheat sheet it to it.
It's actually called SI Play. You can download that app. Honestly, it's not very good. And I've actually had a lot of problems with it in the past myself. I usually just use the website, but the app is, it will give you notifications sometimes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sounds
What do
encouraging.
you use for a phone though, Keith? The app works very well, and we're actually using it in the football league as well, and I like it.
I'm guessing that you're not using, so SI Play is connected to a lot of different back-end engines, and we use League Athletics. League Athletics is about a 15-year-old platform for our website, and SI Play was kind of shoehorned to use our old engine. So it doesn't, I haven't had great luck with it. Some people have had good luck, but just buyer beware.
Can I ask you another question that's not related to the softball?
Sure.
What, when is the contract for Spalding come up? Can we work on that so that we can mow the fields over there?
I have been working on that constantly. We've got 2 years left. That we already made a new deal for the baseball field. So our vendor is now mowing the baseball field every week. But we are not allowed to keep, we're not allowed to do anything on the non-fenced in part, the softball or the t-ball fields, because those are directly connected to the schools.
When did the our vendor take over the?
It was
baseball?
towards the very end of the spring season. So
At
we were,
Spalding?
yeah, like the last week of the spring season.
Oh, because there was a couple times during summer ball that Bert ended up mowing the infield on the baseball field at Spalding.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of rain this year, so they mowed it once a week, but even Craven got pretty rough sometimes with them mowing it once a week.
Come on.
Yes, Dave?
And then the only other thought I had was, is there any thought about getting them in to do Harley rakes of the field mid-season to fight off the grass? I know like that's the idea why we're raking, but for the spring season, it was getting rough over at Spalding.
Yeah, we actually bought a brand new tool that's going to try to hopefully help us keep that better in check next year. The biggest problem we have is that most landscapers that want to come out and that can do that, they bring out basically a power rake and they
Yes.
try to till it. And what that does is it's actually the worst thing you can do, because what it does is it actually takes all the clay and pounds it and grinds it into dust. And so it's actually not a good idea to do that. We do that at the beginning of the season, but it's better to actually